We are taking you live now to the U.S. Capitol, view of the National Mall there, where a protest rally is just about to get underway to demonstrate against government spending under the Obama administration. Some expected speakers include former GOP House Majority Leader Dick Armey, South Carolina Senator Jim DeMint, actor and radio talk show host Stephen Baldwin, and Republican House leaders like Mike Pence and Tom Price, and as well as the author and motivational speaker Mason Weaver. This event is organized by a group called Freedom Works Foundation and a coalition of other groups, including the National Taxpayers Union and the Tea Party Patriots. Watching live coverage now on Cspan.
200 years later, a sleeping giant has again awakened to a new threat on freedom. Lady Liberty faces her newest challenge, and across this great nation, a new generation of patriots is standing ready for her defense.
We need to speak out. We need to start taking some action and start letting the people up in Congress know we're serious about what we're talking about.
The Troubled Asset Relief Program.
October 3rd, 2008. TARP 1 opens up Pandora's box with a glut of taxpayer money to stabilize the banking industry. May 2009. The effort fails. Government grows as many banks are taken over by force.
Failed spending.
February. President Obama signs one of the largest spending bills in world history. A stimulus committing generations yet unborn to a staggering debt obligation. By July, unemployment reaches new highs. Consumer confidence is low, and a country's economy stands on a knife's edge.
Taxpayer-funded hostile takeovers.
June. Taxpayer money bails out automotive manufacturers like GM. The numbers are in. Bailed out manufacturers are still struggling to turn a profit.
An army of czars.
As of September 1st, more unconstitutional czars are appointed in the first 7 months of the new administration than in over 300 years of czarist Russia.
I think the sign says it all.
Cash for clunkers.
August. The too good to be true used car deal goes into effect. Within 2 weeks, it stalls out on the backs of government bureaucracy.
They will get their money, but we've got to process it properly.
It costs taxpayers an additional $3 billion.
It has been successful beyond anybody's imagination.
The August recess.
We have got to go to every town hall meeting. We have got to go to every elected representative and remind them that they're on our dime.
Stop spending our money!
Legislators come home to angry constituents ready to fire back. Town halls erupt with passionate disapproval of a health care bill gone too far.
You don't trust me?
Are they going to be willing to be on the same plan they're asking us to be on?
It'll be a cold day in hell before he socializes my country.
There are 1,300 insurance companies in the United States, and 6 of them, I can only use 6 in California. If you let the free market system work, everybody could have insurance.
The calculations are adding up. $60 trillion in unfunded liabilities. Soaring national debt.
Government health care.
Executive pay control. Stalling stimulus. A constitution under assault. Liberty. It knows no political party. It is the gift of divine providence to all mankind. On this day, September 12th, America gives her response as a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. From sea to shining sea, millions are standing as one to say, we will not be bought. We will not be sold a bill of goods. And we will not disown this Declaration of Independence. 8 years to the day, America looked up from the rubble. She saw with clarity her destiny. A destiny to defend liberty. And today she stands again with a clear eye and a firm resolve. Welcome, patriots, to your story, our story, the story of we, the people. Welcome to the 9/12 March on Washington.
Please welcome Tea Party Patriots National Coordinator, co-organizer for the 9/12 March on Washington, Jenny Beth Martin.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the official start time of the 9/12 March on Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for being here today. We had over 450 buses come here today. 450. We have people who are here from Alaska and Hawaii and every single state in this country. In addition to what we're doing right here, right now, we have 200 events going on around the country today. Those 200 events are in 45 states. 45 states today joining with us as we're here making our voices heard on Washington, D.C. How many of you who are here were part of the 30,000 people that attended tea parties on February 27th? How many of you who are here attended tea parties on April 15th? How many of you who are here today made some sort of personal sacrifice to be here? How many of you had to pay money to be here? This week, when President Obama addressed the joint session of Congress, he said it was time for the games to stop. How many of you were playing a game in February? How many of you were playing a game on April 15th? How many of you were playing a game when you waited over 2 hours to get into a town hall to talk to your congressman or senator? Ready to play games? How many of you are playing a game today? Is this a game to you? No. President Obama, this is not a game. We are serious. We mean what we say. It is time for this country to restore fiscal responsibility. We must be responsible with our money for future generations. We must have limited government, constitutionally limited government, the government our founding fathers intended. And we must let free markets work without government interference. Those are the core values of Tea Party patriots. Those are the values for the messages you've heard this morning and you'll continue to hear today. Well, I'm one of the national coordinators of Tea Party patriots and one of the coordinators for this event. I'm just an organizer. All that I do is make it so that you have the platform to make your voice heard. Apparently, we were not loud enough in February. We were not loud enough in April. We were not loud enough in July. We were not loud enough in August. So we're turning up the volume. President Obama, can you hear us now? Americans. I'm so proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with you as we work to save freedom in our country. Thank you, thank you. One more thing, so sorry. Drew, the boy that we were looking for earlier, he is now with the police. So Drew's mom, please. It's very good. Listen though, let's be a little quiet so his mom can hear. Drew's mother, you need to either answer the phone when Alyssa calls or go see a policeman yourself. Your son is with the police. Thank you guys very much.
Put your hands together for the grassroots director of Freedom Works and the organizer for the 9/12 March on Washington, Brendan Steinhauser.
How's everyone doing today? Well, I heard that Nancy Pelosi wasn't in town, but if she's watching, we do have a message for her. Speaker Pelosi, if you noticed, we replaced the grass on the west lawn with AstroTurf. I am the grassroots director for Freedom Works. We're an organization that believes in lower taxes, less government, and more freedom. And now apparently we're on this enemies list that President Obama has created. I'll talk more about that in a minute, but one thing I want to mention today, we have a ton of people here today, hundreds of thousands of people. We need to stay in touch, and I'm going to give you one simple way to do that. Everyone, please get out your cell phone, just like they did in the presidential campaign, and text freedom to 74700. Freedom to 74700. We have got to keep this momentum going. This whole movement started with a handful of people who decided to take to the streets. And they said that, well, conservatives don't really protest. That's not really what they do. But something changed. And it began last year when the Republicans were bailing out Wall Street. And it continued when the Democrats were ramming the stimulus down our throats. You push people far enough, you keep pushing, and they're going to push back. And that's what we've done. This movement is amazing. This view of all these patriotic Americans who have paid their own way to be here. They were not bussed in. This is not an SEIU rally. This is not Acorn, and this sure isn't the Organizing for America run by the Democrat National Committee. These are Americans who came here on their own. So God bless each and every one of you. Freedom Works will continue to work with all of you, support your efforts at the local level, and let's consider coming back here in about a year. Oh yeah, one more thing. This message is for President Obama. Flag this.
Now, put your hands together and welcome the chairman of Freedom Works and former House Majority Leader, Dick Armey.
If you all give me a smile, I want to take your picture. In case I run into Nancy Pelosi, I want to be able to prove to her you were really here. It wasn't just in our imagination. My wife Susan, some of you know how much I love my baby. We wanted to be here together because we have one beautiful nephew and 10 very, very beautiful grandchildren, and we wanted them to see Grandma and Grandpa are here fighting for their freedom together. So we would like to start off by asking you, how many of you are here because you love your grandchildren? How many of you are here because you think America made them a great promise when they promised the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity, and you expect your government to make good on it? You know, when the federal government just decided to go wrong over a year ago and try to bail out Wall Street, we tried to tell them it won't work, and it didn't work. When the first tranche of stimulus didn't work, what did they do? What the government always does with a bad idea. If it doesn't work, do more. And we told them that wouldn't work. Then we had the election. And President Obama came in and said, we're going to give you change you can believe in. And what did he give us? More of the same. That didn't work. And we tried to tell him it wouldn't work. So in April, we said we got to get organized. Let's do some tea parties. We had our tea parties all over the world, all over the nation. How many of you were at a tea party last April 15th? And what did they say about us? We weren't real. We didn't know what we were talking about. Don't listen to those folks. So we said, well, we have to keep going. We have to keep trying. We showed up in August at the town hall meetings. What did they say about it? They weren't real. They're AstroTurf. They don't know what they're talking about. They'll go away. Well, did you go away or are you back? You're back, Mr. and Mrs. America. And we're so proud, Susan and I are so proud to be here with you on behalf of our grandchildren. Now, look, I want to just make one clear idea. Not too long ago, President Barack Obama stood right there on that stage, and he said the one singular pledge of commitment that we ask of every elected official in America at every level. He pledged a commitment of fidelity to the United States Constitution. Winston Churchill said about the American Constitutional Convention that it was the greatest entrepreneurial act of courage for liberty in the history of the world, and it deserves to be respected. And these were learned people. There was no word, no phrase, no sentence that got into the Constitution by accident. They knew what the meaning of the word was, and they wrote exactly what they meant. And it doesn't take a great deal of genius to read it and understand it and know what it says. And if you can't do that, we'll buy you a dictionary. Now, we're here today to fulfill a commitment. When Benjamin Franklin walked out of that Constitutional Convention, he was asked by a lady on the street, she said, Dr. Franklin, what kind of government did you give us? And he said, I gave you a republic if you can hold it. And we're here today to hold it. Next year at this time, to hold it. And the one thing that they knew above all other things when they wrote that Constitution was that liberty was a gift given to mankind and mankind alone by the Lord God Almighty, and it's the duty of a government to protect it. We protect and cherish freedom because it is precious in its own right, but because it works. So let's give them a message. Freedom works. Freedom works. Thank you for letting me be here. Freedom works. Freedom works. Freedom works. Freedom works. Freedom works. Freedom works.
Self, their country loved, and mercy more than life. amber waves of grain. For purple mountain majesties. Over the fruited plain. But now wait a minute. I'm talking about America, sweet America. You know, God done shed his grace on thee. He crowned thy good. Yes, he did. Heavy brotherhood from sea to shining sea. You know, I wish I had somebody to help me sing this. America, I love you, America. You see, my God, he done shed his grace on thee. You ought to love him for it, 'cause he crowned my good. He told me he would. Every brotherhood from sea to shining sea. I thank you, Lord.
James Anderer is an entrepreneur with many successful years in the restaurant and auto dealer industry. This year, James lost his dealership during the automotive bailout. You've seen him on Fox News. Now, please welcome to the stage, James Anderer.
My name is James Anderer, and I am an American patriot. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the Bill of Rights. I believe in government of the people, by the people, and for the people. I believe in the First Amendment. I believe in the right of free speech. I believe in the Second Amendment and the right of the individual citizen to bear arms. I'm going to say that again. The right of the individual to bear arms. Very important. I believe in the Fifth Amendment that we, the people, will not be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process. Well, my friends, what happens when due process becomes corrupted? That's exactly what happened to me. I stand before you an angry man. I'm an angry American citizen. I am living proof of a government out of control. My business was seized, stolen from me, under the watchful eye and complete approval of President Barack Obama. Under this man's administration, and with the help and aid of a series of government appointees, czars, and bankruptcy judges, all with no congressional oversight or approval, with the illegal misuse and total disregard for our sacred Constitution, and the complete and total manipulation of our bankruptcy laws, this Obama administration has successfully achieved their goal of total control over all three branches of government, rendering the system of checks and balances meaningless. The radical liberal wing of the Democratic Party now controls the executive branch the House and the Senate. I believe they also have control or undeniable influence over the judiciary. Proof of this is the way the Chrysler bankruptcy was handled. The judge who presided over the bankruptcy hearing interpreted the current bankruptcy laws not as they were written or intended to be used, but to conform to the Obama administration's agenda. This meant that the unions survive. But some top dealers like me and some people, including children, who had personal injury claims and some pensioners will be financially destroyed. Bankruptcy experts, legal scholars have said this ruling will have devastating consequences in future cases. Ruth Bader Ginsburg chose not to hear the appeal before the Supreme Court. Big surprise. And the judge who heard the bankruptcy case was appointed another term. Another big surprise. This is real, folks. It has happened.
Small government, we the people.
Tennessee says
it has happened to me and to over 2,000 profitable, viable car dealers across this nation. This has resulted in over 150,000 workers being forced onto the unemployment lines for no reason. My business, Island Jeep, was stolen from me. Located in Lindenhurst, New York, I was a top-performing Jeep dealership in the upper 2% of nationwide sales. Island Jeep was seized from me, stolen from me, with no compensation whatsoever, and it will be given to another individual for free. All because of corporate politics and a compliant government. Now you see why I am an angry American. I did not ask for this fight, but by God, I'm going to win it. Make no mistake about this. I speak the truth. This has happened to me and thousands of other Americans. And it can happen and will happen to you if we, the people, don't stop this insane march towards socialism and tyranny. You may say this could never happen in America. Well, my friends, it has. Just like in many countries throughout history, where a set of circumstances put in power an individual or a regime that embraced totalitarianism. Unfortunately, President Obama believes in this notion that government should control virtually all aspects of an individual's life. That big government can solve all problems. That capitalism, by its very nature, exploits the worker. President Obama believes he has a mandate to change America. Well, I say the change he wants for America is bad. I believe the change he wants is not what our founding fathers had conceived for this great nation. I believe that is the reason President Obama wants all these changes completed as fast as possible. He wants these changes completed before Congress or the American people realize exactly what he has done. I believe he thinks his way is the best way for America. Well, folks, I say he's wrong. He's getting bad advice from his advisors. We, the people, are in revolt. Even many of the people who voted for him are in revolt. We, the people, are in revolt against his socialist policies. We, the people, are in revolt because of his tactics. We, the people, are in revolt because of his enemies list and union thugs and goon squads sent out to town hall meetings to push around and beat up old people. We, the people, are in revolt because of his unconstitutional appointments of these czars, so they don't have to go before Congress and get vetted. We, the people, are in revolt because of the way President Obama and the Congress spends taxpayer money. Our money on earmarks and political patronage, and they have the nerve to call it a stimulus package. We, the people, are in revolt because our taxes are so far high, they're destroying our way of life. And they keep going up and up and up. We, the people, are in revolt because our elected officials do not represent us anymore. They represent special interest groups that fund their campaigns and give them money. We, the people, are in revolt because all of us have been working hard and raising children and paying taxes and trying to make this world a better place, but we have lost our way. We have let this country be taken over by people who do not share our values. They do not share our vision of the American dream. They do not believe in individual rights. They do not believe in the concept of personal responsibility. They do not believe in the ideal that if you work hard and succeed and achieve your goals and what you have worked for, you will keep. It will not be taken from you in the form of high taxes or, in my case, property seized and given to somebody else for free. We, the people, cannot allow this to continue and grow like a malignant disease infecting this nation. We must and we will stop it. We will stop them by organizing and attending peaceful town hall meetings and engaging our elected officials. But my friends, when all is said and done, and in the final analysis, the only way to get our country back is to vote them out. Never give up. Never, ever give up. God bless you. God bless Fox News. One last thought. Death to the terrorists.
Have appeared in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and the Washington Post. You've seen them on Fox's O'Reilly Factor, ABC's Nightline, CNN's Crossfire, and others. Please welcome from the Cato Institute, Robert Levy.
Good afternoon. For the next minute or two, I'm going to talk to you about TARP, T-A-R-P, the Troubled Asset Relief Program, now in its umpteenth transformation, the bailout. Originally, TARP authorized former Secretary Henry Paulson to buy toxic assets from troubled banks. Within a few weeks, that morphed into a program to inject capital directly into those same banks. And then just a couple of weeks after that, it morphed back again to purchasing troubled assets. And along the way, the administration expropriated a few tens of billions of dollars to bail out the automobile industry, and after that, to bail out insurance giant AIG. And after that fiasco, our new Treasury Secretary, Timothy Geithner, promoted the idea of a public-private partnership using, you guessed it, public taxpayer money for a total cost of about $1 trillion. Now, how did all of this come to pass? First, the federal government enacted double taxation of dividends, tax deductibility of interest. That meant corporations would use too little equity and too much debt, higher leverage, more risk. And then Alan Greenspan's Federal Reserve System fueled the credit crisis with artificially low interest rates. And that was compounded by political pressure for affordable housing and implicit taxpayer guarantees to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, all of which meant more than too much subprime lending, high-risk securitized mortgages, complex derivatives. It was perverse government policies that caused this mess. Privatized profits and socialized losses. Heads, the banks and the car companies win. Tails, the taxpayers lose. Now, naturally, you might say, if we don't like these policies, we can vote these legislators out of office. Well, perhaps not. Suppose the policies were not enacted by Congress, but by unelected bureaucrats, unaccountable to the voters, at one of the 330 alphabet agencies and cabinet departments here in D.C. That's what actually happened. The bailout was foisted on the public by the Treasury Secretary, not by the Congress. If you look at the very first sentence in the Constitution after the preamble, Article 1, Section 1, all legislative powers shall be vested in Congress. Lawmaking is for the legislature, not the Treasury Department. And note the key terms, all legislative powers shall be vested. The vesting provision is not selective and it is not discretionary. Delegations are okay, said the court, but only if the Congress enacts an intelligible principle so that the executive department knows how to flesh out the details. What is the intelligible principle that Secretary Geithner must follow? No one knows, least of all the taxpayers who have to pay the cost. Make things better is not an intelligible principle. In Federalist 45, James Madison warned about excessive government power, and here's what he wrote. The powers delegated by the Constitution to the federal government are few and defined. Well, that might have been the intent, but it is not what has transpired. And as I rattle off this list, see if you can identify a single power that is authorized by the U.S. Constitution. Today, the federal government has immersed itself in everything ranging from public schools to hurricane relief, drug enforcement, welfare, retirement systems, medical care, family planning, housing, even aid to the arts, not a single one of which can be found among Congress's enumerated powers. Too much power, too little freedom. It is time to restore constitutional government. Thank you very much.
Government-sponsored health care plan, we realized how damaging that was to our patients and how damaging it was to our ability to take care of patients. We couldn't be silent. You just couldn't. With any conscience at all, you couldn't allow this to happen without speaking out.
We came here to be sure that Congress heard our concerns as everyday practicing doctors. Congressman after senator after aide has said to us, the problem with you doctors is that you've been apolitical for too long. And we said, yeah, sure, you know, we're taking care of patients. We're not thinking about politics. And they said, yeah, but you don't understand. The decisions are made here. If you don't get involved in the process, your voice is never heard. People say to me, well, this is all about money, isn't it? And I say, no, it's not about money. If it was about money, I'd be all in favor of it. It's not about that. It's about the ability to take care of my patients in the way that needs to be without bureaucrats interfering in it. 99.9% of my patients say we do not want government-run health care. It was amazing. We stumbled into this hearing, is really what it was, from Congressman Conyers, and it was a health and information hearing, and it was all about single payer. And several of our members got up and explained to him why we thought single payer was a bad idea. And the next thing you know, all of our doctors were speaking and none of his were, and he was listening.
We don't feel like we've been involved in the process at all. The people who've been involved in the process, supposedly representing us, are not people taking care of patients every day.
This fight is a long way from being over. We have a chance of winning, and the people in Congress are actually listening to us.
Now rise to your feet and welcome a man fresh from the front lines, a tireless lobbyist for the forgotten special interest, the American taxpayer. Here's the Director of Government Affairs for the 362,000-strong National Taxpayers Union, Andrew Moylan.
Good afternoon, taxpayers. Good afternoon, Americans. People to my right. People to my other right. I see you as well. Now, if you are excited to be here today and help turn our government around, let me hear an amen. President Obama's in Minnesota today. Let me hear an amen. Now that sound is proof that hell hath no fury like a taxpayer ignored. My name is Andrew Moylan, and I'm Director of Government Affairs for the National Taxpayers Union. We are the oldest grassroots taxpayer organization in the country, and you can find out more about what we do to protect your wallet every day at ntu.org. Now, hell hath no fury like a taxpayer ignored, but you're being ignored today by the media and by some politicians. Some of them will insist that you are not here today, that it's just a few thousand kooks with signs. Well, we can help make darn sure that each and every one of you is counted in the final analysis. You can pull out your cell phone right now and text 912 to 67292. We'll compile those attendance numbers and we'll send them to every one of those media outlets and publicize them for everybody to see. You can pull out your phone, text 912 to 67292. Now, Congress and the President have been busy ignoring things themselves, like our federal budget deficit, which at $1.6 trillion is bigger than the entire federal budget from 1997. By doing that, they've ignored their way to a nearly $12 trillion debt, excuse me. I have a 5-month-old daughter who's sitting at home watching this on TV, and she has a $40,000 bounty on her head before she has ever walked a step or said a word on this earth, as though she crossed the mob or something. Now, if you think that's a bad idea, let me hear an amen. They've ignored their own promises. Obama has promised that nobody making over $250,000 would see any kind of a tax increase. Well, they're ignoring that on health care. They want to raise your taxes to pay for a $1 trillion plan. Notice the common theme here, the word trillion. With fines of up to $3,800 if you don't comply, and higher taxes on thousands of individuals and small businesses. They're ignoring it on energy, a $2 trillion cap-and-trade national energy tax. They've already ignored it on cigarettes. They raised the cigarette tax 62 cents a pack this year, and you know, there's only one person who makes more than $250,000 in smokes, and his name is Barack Obama. Now, we have a message today that we will be ignored no more. So here's what you can do today. You can make your politician feel the heat, because when they feel the heat, they see the light. You can call your representative right now. Call them up and let them know how you feel. You can text 912 to 67292. We'll help you. And every single time you do that, you help to turn votes. You know, people often forget the original Wall Street bailout almost failed. It did fail, excuse me, on the House floor, and it's because of your phone calls that made that happen. Now, I want to say a personal thank you to the politicians that are protecting our rights, that are working for us. People like Tom Price and others that you're going to hear from today. Give them a round of applause. But to those who continue to ignore us, I have 12 little words, and you can all sing along with me. Na 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 na, na 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 na, hey hey hey, goodbye. Thank you.
So it's 10 till 2 o'clock. We've started at 10:30 this morning. People were lining up here at 8 a.m. And people are still coming in. Buses are still dropping people off. I've been told that the expressways are blocked. Roads are closed. You guys are making a difference today. Together we will continue to make a difference. So what do you think? Congress, President Obama, can you hear us now? He's a 2005 graduate of the University of Miami School of Architecture and a former New York City architect. He is founder and CEO of Park Bench Media and is co-director of Tea Party 365 Inc., the New York City Tea Party. Welcome, Kellen.
Hello, America! So I'm from New York City, the land of underground clubs, 4 a.m. pizza, and high as hell taxes. So in New York City, we've been getting 10, 12,000 people for our rallies, and we've been going to our community board meetings. And what do we hear there from New York City councilmen? Hey, we've cut the application down for this social program. Tell all your friends to sign up, and we'll get $1 billion more next year. Well, that's not very cool, and it's not going to happen in New York City anymore. We've been down in front of City Hall. We've been getting down in the clubs. Rock bands, punk rock, they're all talking about the Tea Parties, and our voice is growing. It's not just Fox News, because I'll tell you what, these punk bands in Brooklyn aren't watching Fox News, but they're rebelling against their government, that's for sure. Now, parkbench.com, what we're doing is we're taking on pop culture. Because right now, you have Perez Hilton, that dirtbag from California, and you have P. Diddy's Rock the Vote out there telling everyone from 10 years old to 25 years old to write their congressman and support health care. Because for the past 30 years, modern pop culture has been left-leaning, anti-liberty, pro-taxes, and pro-social program. And that's what us college kids, and that's what my high school sister, that's what they hear, and that's what they know. So we have to start taking on this establishment in pop culture. It all started 30 years ago with Rolling Stone magazine and the hippie counterculture. Well, we have our own counterculture now. Hundreds of thousands of people out here today, and we're all protesting against the government, and that's what we need. But more importantly, we need to start taking on the pulp culture. The proponents of liberty and freedom, we have our policy base, we have our intellectuals based, now we need our pulp culture base. And it's people like Stephen Baldwin, who's up here earlier today, who's going to get that going. So next time you're walking down the street, take a look at a news magazine, take a look at the news stands, and see what's going on. Flip through the pages, because when you go to eOnline and PerezHilton.com, they're talking trash about you. So that's what we're doing at Park Bench. We have 30 riders that are all under 30 years old, and we're taking it on. And we want everyone to get involved. Join a Tea Party, join the pulp culture counter-revolution, and keep doing what you're doing, because it starts in New York City in underground clubs, and everywhere you are, in your bands and your bars, and going out and getting the people's opinion. So keep rallying, and great job, America.
One very quick announcement. Be quiet for this one because it's an important one. The parents of Sean Holland need to go to the bottom of Maryland Avenue walkway at Garfield Circle. Again, the parents of Sean Holland go to the bottom Maryland Avenue walkway at Garfield Circle. Sean is there with the police. Thank you.
And now, here to take out the trash on everything you thought you knew about conservatives, direct from the streets of dirty Jersey, the nation's one and only conservative hip-hop artist, give it up for High Caliber.
Washington, make some noise! Make some noise, DC! If you're a proud to be American today, make some noise! Make some noise!
High Caliber, a.k.a. Mr. Conservative. This is my partner, Vance Venom. You can hear me every week on the Monica Crowley Show. And I got a question for y'all. Are there any right-wing extremists in the house today? Okay, I'm a proud right-wing. Break it down for myself. This is a little a cappella before we get into the music. Right-wing extremists, what's the definition to this administration? I guess a gun-toting Christian, or someone who's against illegal immigration. Now there's a real threat to the safety of our nation, and you haven't even seen nothing yet. How the heck you gonna call our troops a potential threat? Respect to the vets who keep the enemies in check, and peace to the Navy SEALs who sent those pirates to their death. Yeah! Yep! I support the military, and I also support the efforts of Rick Perry. It's getting scary. Our government is getting reckless. You know how the saying goes, don't mess with Texas. Or the 10th Amendment, we fought for independence. Now this Marxist administration wants to end it and send it into a never-ending plunge. Why the heck you think they want to take away our guns? A revolution has begun. Not the kind that needs armies. I'm talking about the patriotic people at tea parties. Let's go, man. Conservative, Democrat, Republican, it's all good. Check it out. Welcome everyone to the March on DC. It's High Cal, Vance Venom, starving artists, MCs. Patriotic people, make some noise, please, if you've had it up here with the president's policies. Welcome everyone to the March on DC. High Cal, Vance Venom, starving artists, MCs. Patriotic people, make some noise, please, if you've had it up here with the president's policies. So who's the people over there who crowd the streets? The American people exercising freedom of speech. Now we united, rock and rollers and the rappers to Republican, Democrat. Forget your different views. They want to separate us from the truth and say it better in the country, protect the youth. Unemployment rate is disgusting. We losing troops. A lot of people losing hope. All these youngins using dope as a method to cope. Time is only getting harder. In the gutter, white collar getting swallowed. Economy crash, we're mad. It's time to stand up. Poverty cast to those who try to man up. So pay the tax till the market collapse. Invest my money in the banks, thank Wall Street for that. Took our liberties away, I'm sorry, we need it back. That's why I'm marching in DC, US, where you at? Welcome everyone to the March in DC. It's High Cal, Vance Venom, starving artists, MCs. Patriotic people, make some noise please if you've had it up to here with the president's policies. Welcome everyone to the March in DC. High Cal, Vance Venom, starving artists, MCs. Patriotic people, make some noise please if you've had it up to here with the president's policy. I want a warranty that's bumper to bumper, not some liberal We need tanks and Hummer, not just hybrid cars. We need honest politicians, not communist czars. Yeah. USA. Not the USSR. We need more and closer and less Bill Maher. More schools and churches, less clubs and bars. More conservative talk shows, less Hollywood stars. More education, less hesitation. Before America becomes a communist nation. I'm sick of all these liars on the TV station. We need a real conservative leader like Ronald Reagan. Enough is better. And forget Cold War, just look at the weather. I don't need another lecture from this socialist hypocrite. You'll say what's your birthday, but where's your birth certificate? Texas, I see you. No, for you. Welcome everyone to the March on DC. Hot now, bands, better starving artists, MCs. Patriotic people, make some noise, please. If you've had it up in here with the president's policy. Welcome everyone to the March on DC. Hot now, bands, better starving artists, MCs. Patriotic people, make some noise, please. If you've had it up in here with the president's policy. Can't neglect the troops. We can't neglect the troops. Drop that music, Selector.
Okay, just drop it. Just drop it. If you love the military, I need to see your hands up. We can't forget those. We can't forget those guys and women. This is perfection.
USA.
Let me hear you. USA.
For the Air Force.
USA.
For the Marines.
High caliber.
This is for the soldiers with 80,000
gears on their shoulders.
Rocket launchers, bazookas, and flamethrowers. Hey, Bin Laden, it's game over. Our troops is coming for you, your demise is closer. Get a sniper to scope you from a mile away. R.I.P. to the soldiers dying every day. And to hell with the enemies of the USA. I don't listen to the media, forget what they say. Grab your rifle and spray, I grab a Bible and pray that another soldier doesn't die from an AK or an RPG. Or an RPG, this ain't no role-playing game or what you see on TV. I support the troops cause they're the reason that we are free. And the reason why we live in the land of liberty. So Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, infantry, ships, planes, and M16s. Come on. So Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, infantry, ships, planes, and M16s. Grab your hand grenades and some extra magazines. It's time that we take out this fascist regime. So Navy SEALs and Air Force Rangers, Special Forces standing strong into the face of danger. Paratroopers and Desert Commando. Real life Rambos blazing that heavy ammo.
This is for my military messengers alike. Dismantling this foreign cancer, we all unite to destroy the cowards who targeted the towers. Tip my hat to every soldier that defending on right. A couple homies in Iraq right now. Wish I could see them. I bet they kicking doors down right now.
Well, I believe them.
All the soldiers way before Operation Iraqi Freedom.
Chris Rack, Bill Clicks,
Undro, Jay Freeman, which all we call them free, which describes me, free. Blood of soldiers spilled for this country. And willingly, that type of bravery is real. Real like John P.C. and Caroline Deal. Yeah, their moms and dads, sons and daughters, sisters and brothers, but they're all warriors. Fighting for all of us, respect the hustle. Cause if the government's the brain, then the soldiers are the muscle. So Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, infantry, ships, planes, and M16s. Grab hand grenades and some extra magazines. It's time that we take out these fascist machines. So Navy SEALs and Airborne Rangers, Special Forces, stretch strong in the face of danger. Paratroopers and Desert Commandos, real life Rambos blazing that heavy ammo. Shots to Rich Willing. We'll see you soon, baby. All my soldiers, all my citizens. Let me hear you. Let me see your flags up. Flags up right now.
For the soldiers.
USA.
For the Army.
USA.
For the Navy.
We love you. Thank you.
And show get the hell out of our country.
Thank you so much. Freedom works, everybody. Have a great time.
Peace.
by elected officials serving their interests and not the interests of their constituents. We will not sit silently and let the massive growth of government smother our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We will not sit silently and let the massive growth of government debt smother our futures and the futures of our children. Our rally today, people, is about liberty. Personally, I will not sit silently and let those who criticize our cause call it about race and call us rednecks. Janine Garofalo, my neck is not red. Speaking of race, I am outraged that there are some prominent black politicians who use the race card any chance they get to cover their failures and their failed policies. I'm also outraged that black politicians have an affinity for socialism. A few examples. Charles Rangel, chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee. Mr. Rangel says that bias and prejudice against President Obama are the reasons why people are opposing the health care bill. Mr. Rangel, it's opposed because of the principle, not race. A message, America, to Mr. Rangel. Pay your taxes. Pay your taxes. Pay your taxes. Yes. There's more. John Conyers, Michigan. He questions the need for lawmakers to read the bill. To read it. Mr. Conyers, that's your job. A message from America, Mr. Conyers. Read the bill. Read the bill. Read the bill. There's more. Congresswoman Diane Watson admires Fidel Castro. Congresswoman Maxine Waters has no problem with governments taking over oil companies. Congresswomen, that is socialism and it's evil. America, look at the urban communities these political representatives are supposed to be representing. Are they any better since they've been in office? Harlem, Detroit, Los Angeles. As a board member with the Opportunity Charter School in Harlem, New York, I can tell you that our government is failing our kids. Not only have these liberal policies failed, they are trying to make matters worse with cap and trade. And let's get the terminology straight. In Washington, D.C., they call it cap and trade. I call it cap and tax. It's a tax on energy. The goal of cap and trade is to force Americans to use less energy by making it more expensive. It will reduce disposable income and our standard of living. It will lead to job losses in manufacturing where they'll move overseas. It will reduce economic growth. That's why cap and tax is a ball and chain for all Americans. It's an energy policy that will enslave everybody. For the sake of liberty and limited government, we cannot allow cap and tax to move in the Senate. America, emancipation from the race card, socialism and cap and tax is the change all Americans can appreciate. Thank you.
And now, here's lifetime Democrat voter and recent blogger who's fed up with Congress and this administration on the national economy, Bruce Webster.
Hello! Several weeks ago, my sweet wife Sandra turned to me and said, "There's a march in D.C., we're going to go to it." I didn't quite expect to be up here. It is true that I was a Democrat for 37 years, but then again, when I grew up, Democrats believed in lower taxes, free enterprise, capitalism, a strong defense, a firm stand against totalitarianism, and equal opportunity before the law. Come to think of it, I may be too conservative for the Republicans. Now, why am I here? I can sum it up in 2 quotes. About 250 years ago, a wise Scotsman by the name of David Hume gave us a warning for our day. He said, "It is seldom that liberty of any kind is lost all at once." I am here because I am concerned about the liberties that we are losing. The second quote comes from Abraham Lincoln, in talking about the Emancipation Proclamation. He said, "America is the last best hope of earth." Now let me ask you, how many of you are veterans or have family members who have served or are serving in the armed forces? Let me hear you. My father, Lieutenant John A. Webster, was at Pearl Harbor, was at the Naval Battle of Guadalcanal, and went ashore with the Marines at Guam before he was 20 years old. He then stayed in the Navy long enough to do 2 terms of duty in Vietnam. His namesake, my son, John A. Webster, corporal in the U.S. Marine Corps, has done 1 tour in Iraq and is fighting with the Corps to go overseas again. My nephew, Darren Green, is a corporal in the U.S. Marine Corps. He followed John into the Corps. He is currently in the Helmand province of Afghanistan, right where the fighting is the worst. We owe the men and women throughout the history of this country who have served a great debt. And 165 years ago, Abraham Lincoln told us, or excuse me, 146 years ago, Abraham Lincoln told us what that debt was. He said, "It is for us, the living, to be dedicated to the unfinished work which they have so nobly advanced." He said, "It is for us to be dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead and from the honored living, we take increased devotion to that course for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead and our veterans will not have served and died in vain. That this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom. And that, note what President Lincoln did not say. He did not say government of the White House, by the White House, for the White House. He did not say government of the courts, by the courts, and for the courts. And he most certainly did not say government of the Congress, by the Congress, and for the Congress. What did he say? Government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. That is our task. God bless us and God bless America.
And now, here's National Public Policy Analyst, President and CEO of FreedomWorks, Matt Kibbe.
How you guys doing?
ABC News is reporting that 1.5 million people are here. Give yourselves a round of applause. For being here. You're making all the people that worked to put this together look pretty good today. We believe in two simple principles. One, freedom works. Two, equally important, government goes to those who show up. Guess what? You guys showed up. Now, no offense to my friends in the media, but I suggest that we get our own head count today. Reports are coming in that the highways are closed down and our folks are streaming all the way back to the Washington Monument. So I know Brendan asked you to do this. I'm going to ask you to do it again. Pull out your cell phones and text freedom to My USA. If you don't have the right kind of phone, text freedom to 69872. Trust and verify with the media. If freedom can work here, we believe that freedom can work anywhere. I want to introduce quickly to you guys Freedom Works Oregon Director, where if freedom can work in Oregon, we're going to win. Russ Walker.
I want to give a shout out to everybody from the West Coast, the left coast of the great United States of America. Let's hear you. They came 3,000 miles to hear their voices today. I believe capitalism works, and I'm proud to be a capitalist. All of you that are proud, let's hear you. 8 months ago, our president told us capitalism no longer works. He gave up on it. I believe it works. When my ancestors arrived in Oregon 150 years ago, they didn't have a government waiting for them to provide them housing, health care, clean water, or anything for that matter. They showed up in a wagon with a rifle and with their own hands and feet and got to work. And they built one of the greatest states in the United States of America. Just like the ancestors of those that live in Texas and Utah and Idaho and California and Indiana and Ohio, and you can go right through the list. This country's been built by risk takers, not by government bureaucrats. It's built by those that put their own capital at risk and take chances. And they either get the rewards of their risks or they get the failures of their risk. And that's what makes America great. You can be more than you were born to. One last thing. Our governor gave us this last session in the state of Oregon the second highest marginal tax rate in the entire world, second only to Belgium. And guess what? We are going to repeal it. We've got enough signatures now to put it on the ballot, and we're going to send our governor and legislature back to do it again, and we're going to do it to these guys right here in Capitol Hill. Thank you.
I got a special treat for you guys. It's my pleasure to introduce Senator Jim DeMint. This may be the first day in a really long time that Senator DeMint is the most popular guy in town. He's the author of a book that every one of you needs to read called Saving Freedom. It's a textbook that tells you how to take your country back. Senator DeMint.
Thank you, man. The New York Times just reported that 500 people showed up here today on the Mall. Well, I think you all know that the President has warned us that if we disagree with him, he is going to call us out. Okay, Mr. President, we are out. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Waterloo. This is a day that I've dreamed of for a long time. We stand together today in a critical battle for the heart and soul of America. It's not a personal battle against President Obama or a partisan battle. It is a battle between big government collectivism and freedom-loving Americans. The stakes are high. We will, or will we, continue to hold tightly to the principles of freedom that made America the most exceptional, prosperous, and compassionate nation in history? Or will we fall for the false hope and empty promises of more government solutions? Will we continue to climb the mountain of personal responsibility, free markets, Judeo-Christian values, and constitutional limited government? Or will we sink into the pit of high taxes, suffocating debt, and socialism? My friends, I join you today not as a U.S. Senator, but as a fellow freedom-loving American. I'm not here to speak to you, but to stand with you. And to join my voice with yours. It is time that the President and the Congress stop lecturing us and start listening to us. Too many Americans have fought and died for our freedom, for us to give it away with apathy and silence. The majority of the politicians here in Washington seem to think that Americans are either asleep or stupid. But you proved today that Americans are awake, they're informed, and they're outraged. We need new leaders who will tell us the truth. We don't need more Alice in Wonderland politicians promising more government solutions and having the audacity to tell us that these government programs will not increase our debt. Our response must be clear. No more bailouts. No more trillion-dollar government stimulus plans. No more trillion-dollar spending bills packed with earmarks. No more government takeovers, especially health care. And no cap and tax energy taxes. Washington politicians in both parties have taken our country to the edge of economic and financial disaster. And the sad truth is that the President and Congress still don't get it. They continue to pass bloated spending bills and create new government programs like there is no tomorrow. Now they're telling us they want to control the most personal part of our lives, our health care. We must stop this government takeover of health care. And we must force the President and Congress to fix what's broken instead of replacing what's working. We cannot allow the government to control 1/6 of our economy, and we cannot put bureaucrats between Americans and their doctors. Friends, this is a critical battle for the heart and soul of America and for freedom itself. Freedom fighters are outnumbered in Congress, but not across America. We are winning this fight, and if you continue to stand up and speak out, we will save freedom in America. Thank you for standing with me.
For over 4 years at the American Energy Corps Century Mine, located near Bealsville, Ohio, where he lives with his wife and 4 children. Please join me in welcoming Greg Harrell.
Hello, Washington! First, I would like to say what a privilege it is to be here and represent all the American men and women that put on a hard hat and go to work every day. Politicians at one time or another say, we will work hard for you, America, but there is nobody that works harder for America than the men and women of the United States Co-Energy. We go to work every day to produce the fuel that powers of America. Now our existence is being threatened. It is being threatened by the cap-and tax bill. Congress is trying to send this through and call it a climate change bill. But it is no more than a tax bill that will be paid by every one of you hardworking Americans. Does anybody here want to pay more taxes? President Obama, he has said, and I quote, under my plan of a cap-and-trade bill, electricity rates will necessarily skyrocket. Well, this is one time that he didn't lie. Skyrocketing electricity rates will cripple our nation's manufacturers that depend on reliable, affordable energy to produce their goods and be able to compete on a global market. We take coal away from our energy picture, and we will export the rest of our manufacturing jobs to China. The coal industry is bigger than us just men and women here that put our hard hats on, put our lights on, and go into the mine to dig coal. It is our families, it is our communities, it is the small businesses that provide us with our goods and materials we need to do our job. They will all be forced out of business under this cap and tax plan. Speaker. I'm no more than a coal miner. So I might stand and stutter a little bit, but I'll tell you one thing. Coal miners love America. They love to get up every day and provide energy for America. And Congress has turned its back on America. And we know, Congressman, we know who you are and how you voted. And America will fire you. And one last thing I'm going to say is, senators, if you want your final legacy to be the destruction of America, how we know it, vote for this cap and tax bill, and America will remember you, and we will remind you that we employ you and we will fire you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Betsy McCoy, who is the founder of the Committee to Reduce Infection Deaths, which focuses on stopping deaths from hospital-acquired infection through education. She has written extensively on the healthcare debate, and her work has been published in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Forbes magazine, and others. Here is the woman who started it all by reading the bills. Isn't that a first? Patient advocate Betsy McCoy.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here with you today. When President Obama spoke before the nation on Wednesday, he repeated his promise that if you like your health plan, you can keep it. But this bill proves that's untrue. Take a look at pages 16 and 17. If you get your health plan through your employer has a grace period courtesy of the government, and then will be legally required to move you into the plan the government wants you to have. If you get your insurance yourself, you won't even have that grace period. You'll have to change to what the government wants you to have as soon as anything in your current insurance plan changes. That's right. And when you go to file your taxes, if you can't prove you're in that plan the government wants you enrolled in, you could be fined thousands of dollars. And get this, 18 months after this bill would be passed, the Health Choices Commissioner, appointed by the President, and a panel of advisors appointed by the President would decide what your health plan covers and what your doctor can do, how much leeway your doctor will have, and how much you are legally required to pay for this plan, right? That's like a banker saying, sign here for this loan, and in 18 months we'll fill in the interest rate and the terms of repayment. No deal. This bill is paid for partly with tax hikes, that's bad enough, but also with a $500 billion reduction in future Medicare spending, that's 10% down, at a time when 30% more people will be enrolled in Medicare as the baby boomers age. Those numbers don't add up, Mr. President. That means no more hip replacements, no more knee replacements, no more bypass surgery. It will undo 40 years of medical progress for our seniors. There is a better way. Mr. President, get rid of this 1,000-page bill and give us a 20-page bill in plain English, 20 pages. 20 pages. Constitution gave us an entire federal government in 18 pages. We want a 20-page bill that will do one thing, period. Provide coverage for Americans who truly can't afford health insurance. There are about 12 to 15 million of them. Americans who can't afford health insurance. We need to cover them so they don't lose their homes or savings when they get sick. And we can do that with that $500 billion in unspent stimulus money. It's sitting in a pot. We're the ones ready to cover the uninsured right now. No cuts in Medicare needed. No additions to the deficit needed. And no pushing you out of the health plans you already like. Most importantly, no need to dismantle the best medical system in the world. You know, on Wednesday night when the president spoke, he didn't say one positive thing about American medicine. Nothing about the great doctors and nurses who rescue patients from the brink of death every day. Right. He only spoke about the victims. But if you're seriously ill, the best place to be is in the United States. God bless America, and God bless American doctors and nurses.
Put your hands together for San Diego, California radio talk show host, author and speaker, Mason Weaver.
Hello, free people! I have a question for you. How's that Hope and Change working out for you today? I came to speak to you because I thought you wanted to hear a black man speak to you without a teleprompter. Mr. President, behold your only public option. You thought he was saying rope and chains. He was saying rope and chains, not hope and chains, rope and chains. They have us divided by our differences. They have white folks and black folks, East Coast and West Coast. I'm saying let's unite, no more hyphenations, only Americans, no more hyphenations. We are Americans. We are free. If we are free, we don't need hope. We got freedom. We don't need freedom. We got freedom. Therefore, what will you change the hope to? From freedom to what? We're not asleep. We are walking. We know what you're trying to do. We're here today to say no more. We've had enough. We've had enough. No more. We don't need you to apologize to foreign countries for us. We are proud to be successful. We are proud of our country. We are proud of our culture. We are proud to be Americans. Decide today if you're going to be free or slave. Decide today if you're going to be the slave to your master or the master of your own destiny. Decide today. And then rest tomorrow. Rest tomorrow. We have enough of being taxed to death and after death. We have enough of guilt. We have enough of surrendering our sovereignty to foreign nations. We have enough of paying you for a tax break. Are you kidding me? We had enough of trying to get the government to recognize that we are free. We are gathered today, folks, and I'm challenging you. The next time on 11 to 10, change this. We win when we show up. Elect people to Congress that will represent your own ideas. Elect folks that will represent your freedom. Do not hesitate. We win when we show up. This is not about health care. This is not about the taxes. This is about socialism, and we're declared, we have woken up, we have delivered, we've had enough. We want our freedom back. God bless you.
introduce Congressman Mike Pence. Mike Pence is a Republican member of the United States House of Representatives for Indiana's 6th Congressional District. He currently serves as chairman of the House Republican Conference.
I'm Mike Pence. I'm from Indiana, and it's an honor to welcome the largest gathering of conservatives in American history to your nation's capital. Some politicians think of you people as astroturf or un-American. I got to be honest with you. After 9 years of fighting runaway federal spending here on this hill, you people look like the cavalry to me. We stand together at a historic moment in the life of the conservative movement and the life of this nation. The coming weeks and months may well set the course for this nation for a generation. How we as conservatives respond to these challenges could determine whether America retains her place in the world as a beacon of freedom, or whether we slip into the abyss that has swallowed much of Europe in an avalanche of socialism. While some are prepared to write the obituary on capitalism and the conservative movement, I believe we are on the verge of a great American awakening. And it will begin here, and begin now, and begin with you. This administration and this Congress are getting a badly needed history lesson, starting with what our founders meant by consent of the governed. If silence is consent, it is now revoked. We the people do not consent to runaway federal spending. We the people do not consent to the notion that we can borrow and spend and bail our way back to a growing America. And we, the people, do not consent to government-run insurance that will cost millions of Americans to lose the insurance they have and lead us to a government takeover of health care in this nation. This week, the President came to this Hill and he gave one more speech about the same bad plan. Mr. President, America doesn't want another speech. We want another health care plan that is built on freedom. And we, the people, do not consent to members of Congress passing 1,000-page bills without anybody ever reading them. Members of Congress should be required to read every major bill that Congress adopts. I gotta be honest with you. I think members of Congress ought to have to read major bills, but I'd be just as happy if some of them read this a little more often. The Constitution of the United States of America. You know, there's a lot of stuff in there. It reminds us that we are a nation led by the people and not the elites and the bureaucrats and the politicians. It reminds us that the powers not delegated to the federal government by the Constitution are reserved to the states and to the people. And nowhere in our Constitution can you find the word czar. It's time that Washington, D.C. became a no-czar zone. The American people aren't happy. But it's not just about dollars and cents. It's about who we are as a nation. As President Reagan said in 1964, it's about whether we abandoned the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives better for us than we can plan them for ourselves. Well, my money's on the American people. My money's on freedom. My money's on the future. This great national capital is filled with memorials to freedom's heroes. Americans whose faces are carved in bronze, whose names adorn monuments, and just across that river lie the remains of Americans who paid freedom's price so we could gather here today. In their time, they did freedom's work as citizens and patriots. Now it's our turn. Let us do as those great Americans we remember in this city have done before. Let us stand and fight for freedom. And if we hold the banner of freedom high, I believe with all my heart, the good and great people of this country will rally to our cause. We will take this Congress back in 2010, and we will take this country back in 2012. So help us God.
Please give a warm welcome to the President of Campaign for Liberty, John Tate.
Thank you. It's great to see so many patriots here today, all for one reason: to take back our freedoms, to fight back against an out-of-control federal government, to restore our constitutional liberties, to reclaim our republic. And that's the reason I and hundreds of thousands of other Americans have joined with Campaign for Liberty to promote and defend the great American principles of individual liberty, constitutional government, sound money, and free markets. We fight against taxes, bloated spending, to restrain government power, to stop power grabs like Real ID, Obama's health care scheme, bailout after bailout, and of course, the out-of-control Federal Reserve. You can't be for freedom if you are for more power for the government. Government power is the enemy of freedom. It's as simple as that. We've all heard the stunning budget figures, over $3.6 trillion of your money spent by the federal beast. But as bad as this is, it's nothing compared to what's going on in secret behind closed doors at the Federal Reserve. The past year has seen the worst plundering of wealth in the history of the world, all done by the out-of-control Federal Reserve and their minions at the Treasury. We're now committed to $13 trillion in bailouts and Federal Reserve loans, more than we spent on every war in our history. Where will it all end? Where is your money? That's why Campaign for Liberty believes the battle to audit the Fed is vital to our fight for freedom. Things are moving in our direction. Over 75% of the American people believe it's now time for a full-scale audit of the Fed. And this issue has been scheduled for hearings on September 25th. It's our time to fight. Together we can win. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Adrian, and when I'm not a Revolutionary War reenactor, I'm actually the press guy at FreedomWorks. Anyone from Ohio? Hey! Like the people who wore this uniform 200 years ago, I think if they would be looking down at us today, they'd be pretty damn proud. Warms my heart to see so many people loving freedom and liberty. But like the guys who fought at Lexington, when they showed up, it was pretty spontaneous. That was a grassroots movement. But what we got to do is we got to take this movement and make sure we're putting it in the right direction, so that we can actually make this change, the change we believe in. So to that end, once again, if you could pull out your phones and text My USA, we've got a poll that we put up, and we want to make sure the media knows what issues we find important when this event closes. Thanks very much, and Thanks for coming today.
Please put your hands together for radio talk show host and guest host of the Glenn Beck radio program, Doc Thompson.
You know, DC is a spectacular city, but for $12 trillion, I expect a little bit more. I've had the distinct pleasure of living all over America, so I know the good people from all over America. I was born a Buckeye. I lived in Alabama, Nebraska, New Mexico, Nevada, West Virginia. And today I come to you with a message from the citizens of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Virginia stands with you. Today I bring a message from the citizens of the Commonwealth of Virginia to the people who work in this building. Your soul belongs to the Lord, but your career belongs to me. Do the right thing or you are fired. Patrick Henry from the Commonwealth of Virginia once gave a speech about give me liberty or give me death. The beginning of that speech says, I know of no way of judging the future but by the past. What is the past? The history of the world's legacy is tyranny and evil. And America is a very special and fragile and amazing thing founded on freedom. And we must protect that. We must defend that at all costs. So I make this pledge to you today. To all those who fight for freedom, not just the people here, but the people all across America at home. For those people willing to fight for freedom, I pledge to you the same thing that I pledged the 6,000 people at the Richmond Tea Party April 15th. The same thing that the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence pledged to each other. I pledge to you my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. Are you willing to pledge that to me? Are you willing to pledge that to the person next to you? Are you willing to pledge that to everybody all across America? Let me hear you then. God bless you and God bless the United States of America.
Fighting for freedom. I mean, I almost feel to the point like a soldier going to battle because I just feel like it's worth even risking my life for it.
I want to follow the 18 enumerated powers in the Constitution. I want the federal government to do that and no more. If we need a health care reform, and we do, it needs to be taken care of by the state.
And right now we're on the defense because of the majorities in Congress and the president, so now we have to prevent bad stuff from happening.
I think if this goes through, my family will pay a dear price for it also.
We can send a message, a real message, that the concern that we have, and you know, we're just scared. People are scared of what's going on in America.
We're the boss. They work for us. And, you know, it's often said by many people in administration, you know, I serve at the pleasure of the president, that kind of thing. Well, they really serve at the pleasure of us.
The sleeping giant has truly awoken. I've never protested before, but it's time. I've met so many people here today. It's their first time protesting, and we are here to stand up and take our country back.
Where were you when our nation fell? I said, I can honestly say I was there, honey. I was there fighting all the way, every way I knew how, with everything I had. And my question to you is this: what are you going to say?
February of this year, 22 of us, roughly, were on a conference call that changed our lives. On that conference call was Amy Kramer,
and she's now the national coordinator of Tea Party Patriots. She's also one of my co-coordinators of the Atlanta Tea Party, Amy Kramer. Thank you, Jenny Beth. Hello, America! I'm so blessed to be here with all of you today and to stand before you. You see, I'm no one special. I am just your average, everyday mom, just like the rest of you, who is tired of seeing what was going on in my government, tired of yelling at my radio, tired of yelling at my TV, and decided to get off my couch and get involved and do something. As Jenny Beth just said, back in February, there were about 22 of us that came together through Twitter on a conference call. We planned to have a round of tea parties. We didn't know that it would grow into what it is today. That first round of tea parties, we had 50 tea parties across this country with 30,000 people in attendance. On April 15th, we had 850 tea parties across this country with 1.2 million people in attendance. And that was because of all of you. That was your tea party, and today is America's tea party. This is the biggest tea party of all, and I congratulate each and every one of you. You know, in August, when our elected officials were on recess, they were not very hospitable at these town halls, and they weren't seen in their districts. They weren't here in Washington. We're not sure where many of them were. But you see, in the South, hospitality is everything. So we decided to bring the hospitality and the Tea Party here to our capital. That's the American people's capital, where they will hear us. They have no other alternative. I've been very blessed these past 2 weeks. I've been going across the country on the Tea Party Express. Do you guys know about the Tea Party Express? You know, somebody told me before I left to go on that bus tour, I don't know why you're doing that, because it's not very well organized and there's nobody that's going to show out for these tea parties, and they were wrong. We started in Sacramento and we've taken our message 7,000 miles across this country and have joined you here today. You know, I can't believe this crowd, but I knew it was going to be big. Last Friday after we left Dallas, Texas, and we had a whistle stop at a rest area in Mount Vernon, Texas, out in the middle of nowhere, we were expecting 50 to 100 people. When we pulled up, we had to be escorted in by the Highway Patrol and the state police because there were 800 to 1,000 people in that rest area to greet us. We had an amazing journey. We had people join us from all across the country to bring our message here to Washington. I am so blessed to be here standing shoulder to shoulder with all of you. We have to keep engaged. I want to congratulate each and every one of you for making this trip, making this journey, because we are all in this together.
want to take the minute to introduce my team. Ryan Gill, Diana Nagy, Selena and William Owens, Calvin Collins, Donald McClone, Sal and Janet Russo, Ronna K. Rivoli, Lloyd Marcus, Gary Dunn, Amy Kramer, and Tiffany Rubner. Thank you all so much. TeaPartyExpress.org, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for your support.
From the great state of Tennessee, a congresswoman who's been a National Journal Top House conservative. Please welcome Representative Marsha Blackburn.
I am absolutely thrilled that you are here. I don't know if there has ever been a larger conservative gathering in this city, but to all 1.5 million of you who have traveled here, congratulations! You have redefined gridlock in Washington, D.C. It is important that you are here, and I am thrilled to see you all, and especially excited about those Tennesseans that are here. Welcome. This week, many of you have come by my office. I've spoken with you. You've told me that you felt called to be here today, and it is a noble calling. You've told me that you worry that America will soon cease to be what she has been. You worry that our glorious potential and our exceptional purpose will be buried not by partisan bickering, but by thoughtless debt. And you have been called to serve liberty and to defend the futures of our children and our grandchildren. You know, that is a noble calling. Many of my colleagues and I share that calling with you, and we have come to Washington to answer that call. Unfortunately, there are others here in Washington who only feel called to your wallet. And to those who have come here to Washington to exercise government's first right of refusal on your paycheck, to keep that cold and grasping hand of government in your pocket, they would have you believe that they're making tough choices in this building behind me. But you and I know that spending more and more and more and more is not a tough choice for Washington. Spending more and more, Washington is pushing the tough choices onto you, and you have had enough. You are the ones who are sacrificing, not those that are cowering in their offices in the building behind me. You have sacrificed to be to this city. Let's stand together. Let's fight for freedom. Thank you.
Now, please welcome the President of the Institute for Liberty, Andrew Langer.
All right, everybody. I want everybody on this side to yell out, "Don't tread." I want everybody on this side to yell out, "On me." Don't tread. On me. Don't tread. On me. Don't tread. On me. Don't tread. As they said, my name is Andrew Langer with the Institute for Liberty. We fight against the tyrannies of government. And that's why we're here today, because something radically has changed in the last few months. I got to tell you, you've all made history today. As they said earlier, this is the largest gathering of free market, limited government individuals in the nation's history. And you all should be damn proud. I think we can actually control the weather. Because if you look up, storm clouds are brewing over Washington, D.C., aren't they? And the storm has come. You all are that storm. The fact is they're scared. And why are they scared? Because they now know that you all
legislation that they are trying to pass. They're well aware that you know what these pieces of legislation are going to do to our country. You see, our pledge to read is not just about the members reading the bills, but it's about giving all of you the ability to read legislation, to take it back, because that turning point in America has been reached. What I want you all to do right now, because we've got to get that pledge signed, that Let Freedom Ring pledge, I want you all to take out your cell phones and pledge or text the word pledge to 74362. Pledge to 74362. And I want you to keep one thing in mind, as my friend Mike Spiegel from Maryland says, cap their terms and trade them in. Cap their terms and trade them in. Thank you all. I'm Andrew Langer from the Institute for Liberty.
Now, welcome Fox Business Network CNBC contributor and president and executive director of the Ayn Rand Institute, Yaron Brook.
Hello, I am a refugee from socialism. I'm an immigrant to this country. I didn't realize they'd follow me here. But it's not my fault. I don't know when this country became a country where irresponsibility is rewarded, where failure is bailed out, where need is a claim on your hard work, on your production, on your pocketbook. But that is where this country is heading. It's time we took back this country. It's time we recaptured the spirit of the founding fathers. It's time we recaptured the idea that is America. And what is that idea? This country was founded on a moral principle, on an ethical principle, on the principle of individual rights, on your right, each one of you, to your own life. It's yours, not your neighbor's. It's yours, not the person who didn't pay his health insurance. It's yours, not the person who didn't save for Social Security. It's your life. It's your liberty. And you have a right, an inalienable right, to pursue your own happiness. That is the spirit of this country. That is what this country is about. You owe yourself to make your life the best that it can be. You are not your brother's keeper. If you want better health care, work hard, get a job, buy health insurance, and leave us free. Thank you all.
Perform on Fox News. He's the musical composer of the American Tea Party anthem. Get ready to party as only a Tea Party can. Here's conservative singer, songwriter, and all-around entertainer, Lloyd Marcus.
Hello, my fellow patriots! I am not an African American. I am Lloyd Marcus, America!
Start spreading the news. I'm telling y'all today, we're taking back America in 2010. This socialist nightmare must come to an end. 'Cause we're gonna vote them out in 2010. I wanna wake up in an America I speak as I please, without acorn breaking my knees. My Reed Pelosi blues will soon melt away. We're taking the House and Senate in 2010. If we can stop them there, their agenda doesn't have a prayer, but it's up to you in 2010.
Have y'all had enough of this out-of-control administration? So have I.
2010, I wanna wake up in an America where I speak as I please, to find my freedom restored. Acorn is out, no Obamacare, Reed and Pelosi are gone. My Obama blues are melting away. We're gonna take back America in 2010. And if we can stop them there, their socialist agenda, it just doesn't have a prayer. But it's up to you. Come through in 2010. 2010.
September 11th. Please welcome Vincent Forrest.
Is this a great day to be an American or what? As you can probably tell, my accent is like the New York sound to it, so I may sound a little bit foreign, like the guy who said he's an immigrant, and they consider me an immigrant with my slang here. But for me to stand here after responding to the terrorist attacks on 9/11 in 2001, this was the most dramatic attack on America, on everything we are, by people who want every single one of you dead. All right? Just understand that. And we lost so many great people in New York. We continue to lose them from these terrible diseases. For us, 9/12, when we worked in the ground pit of 9/11 at Ground Zero, we didn't know what was even going to happen tomorrow. After the sun came up the morning of September 12th, we had hope that America had survived this incredible attack and that we stand together as a nation, as a people and as Americans, and no one is going to mess with us. Today, 9/12 is here. Tomorrow is here for all of us. Rally together. Believe in America. God bless you.
Next, we have a state representative from my home state, of Georgia, State Representative Tom Graves.
Hello, America! On behalf of the great state of Georgia and the Georgia Freedom Fighters, we want to know, are you fired up yet? Good, because we are fired up in Georgia. And it was in 1980 that President Ronald Reagan said, and it was a prophetic statement, when he said, a government is never more dangerous than when we have the desire to have it help us, blind us from how it can harm us. Yes, these are dangerous days, but guess what? We are blind no more. We can see clearly now. We can see what has been done, and yes, what we must do. We must take back America, the Republic, and we must push back this overreaching, overtaxing, overburdensome, money-hungry government that seeks to preserve itself and our liberty. But guess what? This is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And we will not stand to be a people of the government, by the government, or for the government. And we will demand from Washington, we will demand less spending, not deficit spending. We will demand a balanced budget, not a pork-filled budget. We will demand personal responsibility, not the bureaucratic nanny. And yes, we will demand empower the patriots and not the politicians anymore. So mark this day. Mark it on the chalkboard of your mind, because here at this Capitol, on this high ground, we are bound together, here together united, and we will be steadfast and resolved in preserving America and her liberty. And may today be forever known as the day that we stood together and said in one voice, "Don't tread on me." Can you say it with me? Don't tread on me. One more time. Don't tread on me. God bless you, and may the Lord bless His great and glorious cause for America.
Here's the president of the Hispanic Leadership Fund, Mario Lopez.
Hello. It's a beautiful day in America. It is a beautiful day to be an American patriot. It's beautiful to see so many of you standing here. There are almost as many of you here as there are pages in the Obamacare bill. I think some of my fellow speakers have been a little unfair to some of the liberals here. Some of them do want to simplify our tax code, and we should take a moment to highlight that. Sources tell me that at this very moment, President Obama, Leader Reid, and Pelosi are working diligently behind closed doors. They want to boil down the complexity of the 1040 tax form. They want to make it just 2 short lines. The first line is going to be, how much did you make? The second line is going to be, send it in. I'm here today, I humbly stand before you as the living example of the American dream. My parents came to this country with a few dollars in their pockets and a dream to make a better life for themselves and their children. And thanks to their hard work and sacrifice and dedication, I've been able to realize many of my personal goals in my life and stand here in front of you, in front of one of the greatest monuments to freedom, and talk about making sure that we unite to make sure that other parents can achieve that dream for their children. When I was young, my family sometimes struggled to make ends meet. And as I became more and more educated, I would sit down with my mom and dad and try to figure out if I could help them with all the bills and figuring out how to make the rent. And my parents would look at their paychecks and say, you know, why does the government take so much away from us? It doesn't seem right. And it isn't right. It is not right for government to get in the way of the dreams and goals of ordinary, hardworking people across this country. And that burden that government imposes on hardworking families has not only grown since the time, but now it's spiraled out of the control, and we're here to take it back. Take it back. Take back the American dream. Thank you.
And now, former Marine captain, wife and mother with 2 tours of duty in Iraq under her belt, Kelly Cole of the United States Marine Corps.
Is what gives me chills running up my leg. On that beautiful morning of Tuesday, September 11th, 2001, Osama bin Laden aimed to wipe out our economic and military strength and ultimately the pride of our nation. Oh, how he underestimated the spirit and vigor of the American people! Because of 9/11, I decided to join the military. I knew absolutely nothing about the military, but I knew I would serve my country, and I shifted the focus of my life. On July 31st, 2004, I was commissioned as second lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps on Liberty Island in the shadow of the Statue of Liberty facing Ground Zero. And I've had 2 tours to Iraq since. My story is just one of many inspiring stories that describe the spirit of Americans willing to fight for a cause greater than themselves, for liberty and freedom against tyranny. During the Boston Tea Party, the people defied King George by throwing tea into the Boston Harbor. In World Wars I and II, and the Korean and Vietnam Wars, men left their families knowing that they may never return home. We are free because of the price paid by those who have sacrificed much. I am thankful for heroes like my husband who have fought battles in defense of this great nation. I'm thankful for the opportunity I've had to serve as a Marine officer for our nation. I'm thankful for my friend, First Lieutenant Nate Kristoff, who gave his life for our country. Nate even inspired his father, who is a surgeon, to leave his private practice and become a Navy doctor. Lieutenant Commander Kristoff just finished his tour of duty in Iraq and asked me to tell you the following. Austin, Nate's younger brother and Marine First Lieutenant, and I have been in Iraq to somehow complete Nate's unfinished task here. We both have performed our smaller role in the larger mission. Nate would be very proud of his fellow Marines. I will never forget the blood that I've seen shed for our country. I will never forget my friends who have lost their lives and limbs and those that have been severely disfigured. The horrific events of September 11th, 2001 morphed into the unifying events of September 12th, 2001. On September 12th, United We Stand was not just a bumper sticker. On that day, we were one nation, under God, indivisible. And we still are, but we seem to have forgotten. But it is time for us to come together and reestablish the commitment we had on that day. Our founding fathers affirmed their support for the Declaration of Independence by pledging their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor, and I hope that we do the same for our country. God bless America!
He's the former administrator of the Small Business Association and author of the new book titled The Engine of America. Here's Hector Barreto.
Hello, great Americans! Welcome to this Million Patriot March. We are so happy to see you here. All of you are patriots. I was proud to be the SBA administrator for 5 years, and the #1 issue for small businesses was always health care. But I don't recognize any of the people that are talking about small businesses, those 27 million engines of this great economy. I don't think any of those people have ever made a payroll. I don't think any of them have had employees, and I don't think any of them have had to worry about how to have access to health care. So that's why we're so glad to see you here. Look, it's real simple. We don't need another $1 trillion in debt to fix some of the problems that we have as small business owners. We get it. We don't need to go more in debt. We don't need more regulation. All we're asking for is common sense solutions. And we agree with the president in the sense that it needs to be bipartisanship. That's not too much to ask, is it? I didn't think so. So, if the powers that be agree we need to help small businesses, then let's agree. We all want reform. Yes, we do. But make no mistake, if what you're selling is more bureaucracy, more regulation, more rationing, more debt, more taxes, less quality, less choice, less competition, less freedom to make our own choices, then repeat after me, we're not buying. We're not buying. We're not buying. God bless you all, and God continue to bless our great country, the United States of America. Thank you.
Here's ResistNet.com's national coordinator and key organizer for the 9/12 March on Washington, Darla DeWall.
Hello, everybody. So good to be here finally. I know I got a lot of people out there from Grassfire and ResistNet. Let me hear it. You know what? I just got a word that somebody special that you guys really like has a great message for you, and his name is Glenn Beck. He put together a special message for you that is special for all of these people here and all the people watching and interested in what we're doing. So when you get done here, you know how to find him and his websites. Go there and see that special message that is just for you. I'm not going to run it for you. I just want to set the stage and let you know it's there. Go find it, go see it, because Glenn Beck is talking to you folks. He sees what you're doing, and he's got a special message for you. You know, it's been a long year. We started at Grassfire and ResistNet back in January, making some major plans for a march on D.C. A lot of people think we couldn't pull it off. We showed them, didn't we? I just want to say that this country means a lot to me. I believe in America. I believe in what America stands for. I believe in the people that are here and what you stand for. God gave us the right to freedom. God and our forefounders made a way for us to be one of the greatest countries on earth. And nobody is going to take that from us. As Judy Beth said, can they hear us now? I was told the other day at the Liberty Summit by one of the representatives that Congress knows we're here. Well, of course. We've shut down D.C. I think everybody knows we're here. My hope from this day forward is that America will get back to what it was founded on. That America will pay attention to the representatives, the senators. Well, that's fun. I didn't know I was doing a dance in the middle of this. Come on, America! Come on! Stand up!
Stand up for your right.
Just remember that God has blessed America, and that blessing hasn't ended. And it's up to you to get out and make the changes that America requires to stay the land of the free. God bless you, your family, and God bless America.
high-impact techniques. We don't waste it on...
There's a bomb threat and we have to leave.
We got a nasty call from some anonymous source saying that he had put a bomb in the building, and we're evacuating right now. These guys will go to no end. People that are so dangerous to America that they have to threaten us with bombs. They're throwing slurs at us. They're treating us like garbage. And you know what? We're going to show up twice as strong.
That's right.
Yeah. You bet. Healthcare alone, we're talking about 17% of the economy, and the government wants to control it. And there's a lot of interests here in town that want to control it. We think we're going to stop them, and so they're doing this. To be honest with you, we're more annoyed than scared.
What can they do? Kill me, I guess? I mean, what can they do to us?
The politicians are aware that we're here, and I think this is an effort to disrupt that activity.
Whoever would do this on the 8th anniversary of September 11th is a really sick individual.
Not only are they offensive, but they're dumb. And, you know, our reaction is to keep working.
He's straight from the bayou in New Orleans, Louisiana. He survived Katrina. Now he's hoping to survive Obama. Stand up and welcome Nashville recording artist Bruce Bellat.
Well, I don't know about Nashville. I do a lot of recording in Nashville. We're doing a recording of North of the Bayou. And I did do what I said I was going to do when Katrina hit. I said I'd do a benefit CD. Well, I got it on a benefit CD. It's called Forgotten But Not Gone. And I'm on it with Marty Stewart and Jack Ingram and Joe McClinton. And Leroy Parnell sings the title cut called Forgotten But Not Gone. Look for it on CD, baby. Thank you, guys. Hit it, maestro. You can stand there and shout, or sit there and pout, lead, follow, or get out of the way. There's time and a place to get into the race. That time to act is today. You better get in the game, or you'll be to blame. Better grab that old bull by the tail. 'Cause freedom's not free, gonna take you and me to stand up for right and prevail. Stand up, make your voice heard, stand up. Spread the good word, stand up. Join the Tea Party cause, help us throw all the bombs out. Hey, sing it with me. After I say stand up. Those folks on the hill, they're sending the bill, putting our kids' futures in doubt. But I cut all our taxes with chainsaws and axes. Let the marketplace sort it all out. Stand up, make your voice heard. Stand up, spread the good word. Stand up, join the Tea Party cause, help us throw all the bombs out. But if you choose not to do a little thing like a voting booth, don't complain about what you get. 'Cause they're gonna come and take your money and guns away. You ain't seen anything yet. Stand up, make your voice heard. Stand up, spread the good word. Stand up, join the Tea Party cause, help us throw all the bombs out. Come on, sing it with me. Make your
Court wrote that song, and I just put a little polish on it, and I got to sing it. He let me sing it, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, Gordon.
RightMarch.com is a PAC that targets federal races in support of conservatives. Here's Right March president and founder, William Green.
Hello, America. I can't tell you. You have no idea what a beautiful sight this is to stand here and see all of you coming here to stand up for what is right. God bless you for taking the time to come here. RightMarch.com has a motto. Our motto is patriotism in action. This is what it's all about, taking action because you are patriots. And I'm just overwhelmed by the people of America that have woken up and have said, we are taking our country back. And I'm excited about this. I've got another motto for today. The motto for today is, it's the Constitution, stupid. The Constitution of the United States, one of my favorite amendments, the Amendment 10, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. That's what this document said. The things they're trying to do right now are not constitutional. And we need to make our voices heard. When they stand up and say, we're going to have government provide health care for everyone because it's constitutional, they lie. When they say we're going to spend taxpayer dollars to give insurance to illegal aliens, and then they stand and say, well, we're not going to really do that, they lie. When they say, well, we're all for using taxpayer dollars to pay for abortions, and then they turn around and say, no, 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 we're not going to do that, they lie. It's time for us to be able to stand up. I thank God for Congressman Wilson that had the courage to say, you lie. It's time for us to do the same and say, you lied, you need to, it's the Constitution, stupid. You need to read it and you need to obey it. And that's what we're here to do. Go to rightmarch.com and send that message to your congressmen and your senators and tell them, read the Constitution and obey it. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Please welcome an American immigrant and successful architect who is the subject of the biography, Legacy of the White Eagle. World War II Polish freedom fighter, Julian Kolski.
My dear friends, fellow Americans, this is a great day, the greatest day of my life. First of all, I want to congratulate all of you and thank all of you for joining hands today in declaring your love, your patriotism, and your loyalty to the United States of America. All of us owe our way of life, our cherished freedoms, and our independence to the visionaries who understood that there can be no human progress under tyranny. Our founding fathers knew that democratic ideals will never be realized unless men are willing to lay down their lives. They believed that no sacrifice is too great and no price too high for the defense of freedom and independence. We are all envied by millions of disenfranchised, disinherited, disheartened multitudes throughout this world of ours. The Iranians live under the oppressive yoke of the tyrannical mullahs. The North Koreans, the Burmese, and the Sudanese live in daily fear of the military oppressors. Young Afghan boys and girls live in fear that any moment their schools will be blown up by the Taliban. Yes, we certainly have a lot to be grateful and thankful for in this great land of ours. If you have not lived under tyranny, you cannot fully grasp how lucky you are to live in the USA and how important it is to continue fighting for our cherished way of life. I wrote a book called Legacy of the White Eagle. Legacy of the White Eagle. It is my story of growing up as a teenager in the midst of the brutal occupation of Warsaw, Poland, during the long 5 years of the Second World War. It is also the story of what people like you can do for freedom and independence when your country needs you. I was 10 when the Germans invaded Poland and began the era of unimaginable terror. When I was 12, the Nazis closed our schools and I was sworn into the underground army. When I was 14, I was arrested and tortured by the Gestapo. At 15, I fought in the 1944 Warsaw Uprising, which saw the most vicious street fighting in World War II, even worse than the Battle of Stalingrad. If you can, imagine 180,000 civilians died in 2 months, the equivalent of a World Trade Center attack every day for 60 days. Eventually, we were forced to capitulate, and I, sick tuberculosis, was transported in a cattle prisoner of war camp in Germany, from which I escaped 9 months later. You would be justified in asking, why did kids like me fight so hard during the war? War is a horrible thing, and life the most precious of gifts. Why then did we kids resist and fight? Many to death. It is because of our shared legacy of freedom. Cemetery. While walking among those headstones, try counting them and remember these young men and women who laid down their lives for you. Please remember the great legacy of America. Please remember that we all have the awesome responsibility to keep the flame of liberty burning. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
And I just want to say we still need your help. This doesn't end today. We need to hear from you what you think are the biggest threats to freedom. And I want to remind everyone that hasn't yet, take part in our poll. Text freedom to MyUSA 69872. That's freedom to MyUSA 69872. Let us know what you think are the biggest threats to your freedom. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I want to extend a special thank you to all the volunteers who made this day possible for us. 1 second. What I'd like to do is ask you if you could kind of lower your signs, and then everybody, let's let them get lowered. All right. Everybody who volunteered to coordinate a bus, raise your hand. Everybody who sent out emails inviting other people, raise your hand. Everybody who volunteered on Thursday, Friday, or today, raise your hand. Everybody who volunteered in their local organization to make this event possible, raise your hand. Let's give all of these people a huge round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I do want to thank everybody, and I just want to encourage every one of you to get engaged and get involved. Not that you're not so far, but get out there, get involved in your local politics, get involved in what's happening, make changes happen. Today is not the end of an event. Today is the beginning of making a change in 2010 that will ensure freedom for everybody. So get out there, get involved in your organizations. You've seen many people come from a lot of different places today that represent a lot of organizations. There's plenty of places for you to go and get involved. Do it. Thank you for all for coming out and sacrificing. We're so glad you did. God bless.
I'm Brendan Steinhauser with Freedom Works, and this will be the last part of the evening, or the afternoon. This has been a long day. I'm so grateful everyone showed up today. I can only agree with what Darla and Jenny Beth said already. Go back home, stay active. Listen, President Obama better look out, because we are all community organizers. Everyone have a safe trip back. Thank you for being a part of the March on Washington, September 12, 2009. God bless you.
All right, one very last thing. Tea Party Patriots is working on and launching a contract from America. Be sure to check that out and find out what input, give your input for what you want to see happen in our government. One last thing. We were here today to make our voices heard. Congress, can you hear us now? Can you hear us now? President Obama, can you hear us now? We're not playing games. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And remember, see this house here? Let's flip this house.
And a live shot here of the National Mall in Washington, D.C., a rally sponsored by the group Freedom Works wrapping up now. Several members of Congress, along with activists from across the country, gathered here in the nation's capital to protest government spending under the Obama administration. If you missed any of this rally, we are going to show it in its entirety Monday night, beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern on Cspan 2.
This week, during a special session, the Supreme Court heard oral argument on campaign finance. The first session for Justice Sonia Sotomayor.
There's no record